Hello and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be walking you through the meeting experience in Microsoft Teams. So the meeting experience from someone who's the meeting organizer, who actually has the Microsoft Teams app downloaded on their computer, versus the meeting experience for someone who may be joining the meeting from a Gmail address. They may not be someone within your organization. They may not even have the Microsoft Teams app downloaded onto their computer. They're probably joining from the web app, which is a little bit of a different experience. So the reason I am creating this video for you today is because I get a lot of questions from people asking me why the screen sharing options are different, why they aren't able to share a file, why they can't send a reaction in a meeting, and it all depends on how you're logging in. It also depends on the actual meeting organizer's organization settings in Microsoft Teams. So there are a lot of things to take into account when understanding which options are available to you when you're joining a meeting. So we'll go into the demo. We'll start off and we'll look at what all the meeting options and features are for the meeting organizer who's joining a meeting from the actual Microsoft Teams desktop application. And then we'll go into the meeting features and view of a guest user, someone logging in from Gmail, and they're logging into the meeting using the internet browser. So that could be your Google Chrome browser or your Microsoft Edge browser, whatever browser you prefer. It could also be a Safari browser. So I'll kind of go through feature comparisons and just some things to be aware of because I do get a lot of questions. So thank you for joining me. And of course, if you want to be part of the coolest club in town, make sure to like this video, make sure to subscribe to my channel, and looking forward to producing more videos for you guys so that you can actually learn to love Microsoft tools and technology. So now we're going to start the demo in Megan Bowen's Outlook calendar. So we're going to launch this meeting that's currently started from Outlook. So on this calendar view here, you'll see over on the right hand side that Megan's meeting is currently in progress because there is the join button there. So when I click on the join button, a new window opens up, and now I'm prompted to decide how I want to join my Teams meeting. Because I have the Microsoft Teams app downloaded onto my computer, I'm just going to simply select Open Your Teams app. So when I click on Open Your Teams app, that dialog box opens up and I click Open Microsoft Teams. So now I'm basically in this preview window before actually joining the meeting, where I have the opportunity to set my video and audio options. Because I have the Microsoft Teams app and this is my company tenant, I do have the ability to select some extended options here. Some really cool features here, but for now we're just going to join with our computer audio and we're going to say join now. So we're now joining the meeting. I'm going to walk you through some of the features that you're going to see as a meeting organizer, as well as anyone who is basically using the Microsoft Teams app to join a meeting. So at the top is where you'll see your menu options. Really, what can you do in a Teams meeting? The first one is that you can see the participants. So you can actually see who is invited to this meeting, who has accepted the meeting invitation. Now you don't see guests. So guest users are users who are outside of your organization. This particular participants list actually shows you the list of people who are within your organization who have been invited to the meeting. And you'll see down at the bottom here that Adele accepted the invitation and Isaiah actually didn't respond. Now let's say, Adele hasn't joined the meeting and we want the meeting to start. We're waiting for our guest, our Gmail user, to join the meeting, but I really want her to join right away. I can simply hover over her name and request to join. And when I click on request to join, it's going to call her through Microsoft Teams, and she's going to be able to accept the phone call. So I'm going to open up Adele's window here, and you'll see in Adele's window, down at the bottom, I get this little dialog box that says Megan is asking me to join this meeting. So I'm going to click on accept. As Adele, I'm just going to click on continue without audio, and I'm going to say join now. So as Adele, I've now joined the meeting because Megan reminded me. And now I'm going to go back to Megan's view here. So back to Megan's view. As Megan, she sees that Adele is in the actual meeting. Now, if I wanted to share this invitation with someone, I can also do so by copying the link to the meeting. I have a detailed explanation of that in the previous video about joining Teams meetings. So that's a little bit about your participants view. You can unmute people. You have options here where you can spotlight them if you want them to be the only speaker that's in everybody's view. And you can also remove them from the meeting, which you probably don't want to do. Over onto the chat. This is the biggest difference when you're in a chat. When you're using the Microsoft Teams app and you're logged into Teams, you have more chat functionality than if you are a Gmail user. So I'm going to show you the difference here. So I see that down at the bottom, I have the ability to format my message where I can use bold, the regular formatting of your fonts. You can also mark this message as important, so you really want people to pay attention to it. This is also going to show up in people's chat feed who actually didn't attend the meeting, but they were invited. So they'll see this as well, but the guests won't unless they're logged into Teams. The other thing you can do is you can upload a file. So perhaps you want to share a file with meeting attendees. You can do that as well. But what you will see is that as a Gmail user, unfortunately, you cannot share a file. So that's something to keep in mind. You also have emojis, the typical emojis that you can use, the GIFs or GIFs, however you want to pronounce it. And then you also have the ability to add messaging extensions, which I'll do a whole video on as well at a later point in time. Now, onto the meeting reactions. This is really, participants' ability to like, heart, clap, and laugh at something in the moment in a meeting. So this doesn't get recorded really, it's not tracked in the chat, but they're just in time, in meeting, conversation, reactions. The only thing that is persistent is the raise hand function, which just means that you have something to say or ask a question when you're in a meeting. Now, if you're a Gmail user and you're not signed in to Microsoft Teams, unfortunately, you do not have the ability to send reactions. The only thing you will have the ability to do is raise your hand. So something to keep in mind again, that your guests in your meeting will not be able to react the way you do. The other functionality here is breakout rooms, which I'll go through in another video, but more actions. So this is where you have extended actions for you. As a meeting organizer or someone who's logged into Microsoft Teams, you'll see a whole bunch of extended options. Meeting options, really, really important for you to be aware of, especially if you want to prevent users from coming off of mute or turning their cameras on. So if I just bypass these options here and we scroll down to the bottom, you'll see that you have the option to disable all the attendees' mic. You can disable them from turning their camera on. You can also enable or disable the chat. Some really cool things for you as a meeting organizer to keep in mind. The other things you can do here are call me. That's a super cool feature that I talked about earlier. But again, if you're in the middle of a meeting and you need to step away from your computer, but you really want to be participating in the meeting, select the call me feature and Microsoft Teams will call the phone number that you input and it will call you so that you can join the meeting from the phone. So you're not missing out on anything and you're still able to participate. Amazing stuff. The other feature you have is the ability to turn on the live captions. So if you're in a room with someone else and you don't want to disturb them, you don't want them to hear the meeting, turn on the live captions. It will turn on live captions only for you. No one else in the meeting will see those live captions, but that way you can read the subtitles of the meeting. Now, Microsoft Teams transcribes what users are saying, so it's not 100% correct depending on how team members are speaking and how well it can pick up people's voices, but it's very good. I do recommend you use that if you need to. The other features, of course, are your camera, your microphone, and lastly, your ability to share your screen. So something to keep in mind as a user in Microsoft Teams, as a meeting organizer, you have a lot of different ways to share content. So the very first thing here is including computer sound. If you're playing a video from a presentation or from YouTube, wherever it is, you do need to make sure you include your computer sound. So toggle that on or off. You also have the ability to select which screen you would like to present. Or if you have other windows open, perhaps you only want to share one file. You don't want users to see any notifications that come through on your screen. You don't want them to see anything other than just a particular window, like a file, an Excel file or a Word file. You can also add a whiteboard, so that allows everyone to start collaborating on a joint whiteboard. And then you've got PowerPoint Live, which I'll go through in another video. And if you can't find the document that you're looking to share, you can clearly upload and browse your computer or your OneDrive and immediately share that video, that particular file there. So why am I showing you this? Because this is what you can do as a Microsoft Teams user in the Microsoft Teams app when you want to share your screen. So now I'm going to take you into a Gmail user who is not logged into Microsoft Teams and what options they have available. All right, so now we are in a Gmail inbox and we've been invited to this particular meeting, and I am this user here and I don't actually use Microsoft Teams. I don't log into Microsoft Teams, but I have to join this meeting. So down at the bottom here, I can click to join the meeting. So basically, you get a new window that opens up, and I'm going to actually select the option to continue on this browser because I don't have the Teams app and I don't want to download it. So it's now going to redirect me to this lobby screen in Microsoft Teams, where now I have the ability to switch some of my settings on or off depending on what I want. The very first option here is for me to select how I want my name to be displayed to everyone else in the meeting. So I'm just going to keep it as is. I'm going to have the guest in parentheses so everyone knows that I'm a guest and that I may not have all the features that they may have. Down at the bottom, I can select if I want my video camera to be on or off as I join the meeting, as well as my microphone. So I'm just going to mute myself. I'm going to switch my camera off, and I'm going to join the meeting. So what happens when I join the meeting as a guest? I'm actually going to be thrown into a lobby. So you'll see here, you may think you're in the meeting, but you're actually not. The message says that we've let people in the meeting know you're waiting. So I'm just going to wait around until the meeting organizers and those participants are ready to let me in the meeting. So if I open up Megan Bowen's screen here, I'm going to show you that she's gotten a notification in the meeting. Her and Adele will actually get this notification. Any participant that's currently in the meeting will be advised that someone is waiting in the lobby. So once you're ready to let that person in, you simply hit the admit button and it will admit that person into the meeting. So now we're going to go back to the user who signed in through Gmail. So now that I'm in the meeting, you'll see that I've got a meeting here with Megan and Adele. So Megan and Adele are both in this meeting, but one thing you'll notice is that I, as a guest, don't see their profile pictures. I only see their initials. So just keep that in mind that guest users in your meeting will not see your profile picture unless they are within your organization or they are a trusted organization. Now, the other thing you'll notice is that my meeting features and options are actually down at the bottom. So when you're using Microsoft Teams on the web, your meeting options are down at the bottom. Unlike when you're in the application, your meeting options are up at the top. So just keep that in mind. Don't get confused. Something to just remember. This is where I can turn my camera on, unmute myself, and this is my ability to share my screen right here. So I'm going to click on open my share tray, and now you'll notice that I actually only have one option. As a guest in Microsoft Teams, without logging into Microsoft Teams, I only have the ability to share my desktop, which is one window that is being picked up in the background. So if I have other documents that I potentially want to share and only want to share the application window, I don't have the same functionality that I would if I was joining in Microsoft Teams, the application, and signed into Teams. So that's a really big difference. The other really big difference here is that you only have the ability to raise your hand. You don't have those live meeting reactions. So if you really want to laugh at something someone said, you can't send a laugh, or you can't send a like or a laugh, whatever you want to do. So just keep that in mind as well. The other thing I want to point out is the chat, the conversations tab. You will notice that I can view the chats. The only unfortunate part about this is that I only have the ability to format my chats. I don't have the option to react with emojis. I don't have the ability to upload a file. I don't have the ability to add a potential survey or any meeting extensions. So I'm just really in the meeting. I have basic access to communicate and collaborate with the meeting attendees. But just remember that when you're hosting a meeting and you're inviting external users, they have limited functionality, something to just be aware of. So that's really what I wanted to show you. I just wanted to walk you through the difference between meeting organizer view, someone who's logged into Microsoft Teams, the meeting features that they have versus the meeting features that someone from Gmail without logging into Microsoft Teams would have. So thank you for joining me in this video. I am so happy that you made it to the end. Don't forget to like this video, and looking forward to taking you through other meeting features in future videos. Stay tuned, and until next time.